guys? Aqua here, back with another video. Here today to give you my review of this new 22G's record, Growth and Development 2. 22G's is a drill artist from Brooklyn, New York, known to be the inventor of the drill sound, the first person to really rap on these drill beats with this New York accent, and really started the way. He is very much seen as a pioneer and a big influence on how we understand drill and how we can appreciate drill in New York today. His discography up to this point, or his journey up to this point, has been pretty interesting. He started out with this very dark and sort of menacing sound, and stuck to that. Starting with Blicky Tape 1, just being different, bringing this dark, brooding sound, this new production. And then we get Growth and Development, which is sort of a completed version of this sort of like dark, sort of hollow drill sound. Not hollow in a bad way, just like there's just empty, ominous space a little bit in his drill production. And Growth and Development was a really, really good project. Tons of hits, tons of great songs. However, as the years went on, stagnation, in my opinion, became a big issue for 22G's. And this came to a head in Blicky Tape 2, which, while not a super bad project, definitely showed a lack of evolution, as well as a deterioration of song ideas, in my opinion, with really only Twirler and Keep a Blicky from the Deluxe really taking off his hits. And overall, the project just feeling not as musically concise as Growth and Development 1. So going into Growth and Development 2, I was a bit concerned. I was a bit more concerned when I'm hearing these, these upcoming leading singles. And honestly, while it's the 22G's that I like, it's not much growth or development, ironically. And I'm noticing the same flow patterns. I'm noticing a lot of the same stuff. And one of the things I mentioned was that I really hope that 22G's lean, like what we've seen from the other drill artists like Sleepy and Favi, is that they expanded on the sound that they already had, right? So the drill soul stuff, he expanded on that, right? I was really hoping to see 22G's sort of expand on that soundscape. And I am happy to report that for the most part, he actually did that in a really interesting and unexpected way. So let's get into it. Now, the record isn't perfect, and there are definitely, my problems I have with it. But I overall have to say that this definitely exceeded my expectations. To start off, first off, the record was only 10 songs. And as you all know, if you watch my content, small albums. First off, I don't want to be listening to 22 songs. Second off, there's no way that you can make a great 22-song album without appealing to way too many damn people. So let's get started. First off, the writing, and this was kind of the weakest part. 22G's has never been that crazy of a writer, and the issues that I have with his writing are the pretty similar issues I had with the writing on the Bible, which is that there are cool flips on how you kill people, and there's cool, catchy lines here and there, and it's definitely got, its unique verbiage and stuff like that. But overall, the subject matter was very monotonous and didn't really veer off from what he was talking about, just the dark, gritty, sad realities of drill. And I think this gets kind of docked a point even lower than maybe an album like the Bible, because for the most part, besides money and fame, there wasn't even really much of an attempt to grow lyrically or topically as an artist. It was kind of just the same murder, kill stuff that we've heard from 22G's this entire time. Now, I will say a positive point besides just the catchy lines is that, as you'll hear me talk about later, the aesthetic of this album was almost horror movie-esque. And the lines in here were particularly menacing. If I'm able to find some stuff, I will show it on the screen of he really, from a lyrical standpoint, while it wasn't as complex or as diverse as I would have liked, executed on that dark, menacing theme with lines that are that genuinely, kind of make you uneasy a little bit. It was definitely an interesting experience listening to this on the plane because some of the lyrics about how he's like fiending for blood and all this stuff, like it's interesting and it's a great artistic mode, but it was very intense to listen to. And so while I wish there was more coming from his writing overall, I do have to respect the commitment to the vision that he had, and I also got to respect the witty punchlines that he did have, that were really catchy and fun. So overall, for the writing, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a good. The production, and this is where like stuff really like begins to kick off for me, and I'm gonna go ahead and give this a great. I was debating between the three: good, great, and amazing. I settled on great because there is an evolution here. The instrumentation is a lot more full on this record, as well as like because it's more full, like it is this very like I mentioned earlier, but this horror movie esque, like suspenseful instrumentation. You see songs like Munch, which just has this nasty reverse sample, like ridiculous reverse sample. You have songs like Oath with those beautiful strings, but still very, 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 very spooky, right? And like you get all these production styles. Not impressed, with these wonderful horns, Shot for Fun, which is a crazy title, going back to what I said about lyrically how crazy and deranged his killing lyrics have become. And while there was some typical production on here, such as Teed Up, which is just a standard, T2G's drill beat, and Everything Dead, which was a personal highlight of mine from last year. While not exactly reinventing the wheel or pushing the sound in any way, it was definitely a solid T2G's track and something good to set him back on track. But overall, like there was just so many dark and eerie sounds, and they were all different, right? There was the trumpets over here, the strings over here, the reverse sounds over there. There was so many different eerie sounds that he came up with that I was really impressed with, but he still had that bounce of a typical of a typical drill song. So I really enjoyed the production, and like I said, it feels like he's diving deeper into the dark aesthetics of his music and really making something of it. Something also I wanted to say about why his writing does get a good instead of a mid is because for the most part he didn't switch it up, but on Money and Fame he did get into other aspects of his life and a bit of his journey and his trials and tribulations. Also, there was that really interesting edit at the very end of one of the songs where he was talking about how he wants to do interviews more often and talking about his influence and what he feels like are the problems in New York City and the crime rate and all that stuff. So I thought that was interesting commentary as well. So that's why the writing overall gets a good. Next up, we have the features, and this was mid to me. Y'all know how I feel about Bronx, that Bronx drill sound. I don't feel like J Dot really brought much of anything. Paranoid, Boss Kerf was cool on Paranoid. I liked the chemistry, and I felt like their flows actually aligned pretty well. But and Malibu Mitch was like an interesting like add-in. But overall, with these features, I just don't feel like they added anything. Like I don't feel like if these features weren't here, that there would be a huge blow to the record at all. These features, in a way, felt more like put-ons, if you will, as opposed to like real, like I need you on this record to serve this purpose. On top of the fact that lyrically they weren't really bringing anything different to the table, I just wasn't really gravitating towards any of the features. Now, none of them had overtly bad performances, not even J Dot in my opinion. But I just don't feel like they added much to the listening experience at all. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and give this a mid. Next up is the flows, and I went back and forth with this because similar to my complaints about his writing, there's not really much evolution on here. You're getting the stereotypical the stereotypical 2-2-G's flows that you get on normal records, and there's even a couple records like Munch where I wish his flow was a little bit better. Although after re-listens, it is growing on me, but I think that the standard 2-2-G's flow still is great, and you have songs like Everything Is Dead and Teed Up that are still bangers, on their own right. Not Impressed also was a really good highlight flow-wise to me, and I really enjoyed that. So overall, his flows still had a decent amount of bounce to them, And the menacing cold delivery, I've said this before, but like you got all these Bronx artists shouting like ah, nah, nah, nah. And like it's cool, but to me, what really 22G's delivery will always sound far scarier to me. Far scarier to me. It's this like monotone coldness that he has and the matter of factness about what he says that really immerses you in the world that he brings you in. And I consider that a part of flow, the vocal inflections and using your voice as a way to engage better with the environment that you're creating. And he really does that with this, with this album overall. And again, while the flows are generally one note and there's not too much diversity in terms of like what the flows accomplish, I do feel like the patented 22G's flow really is incredible. I'm a bit back and forth on this between good and great. I might flip flop a little bit. For now, I'm going to go great because of how well his flows went with the album. And finally, musical execution. I'm going to go ahead and give this a great, just because there's a significant amount of this album that I am taking and listening to on a regular basis. While it is very dark and scary, and honestly, like I remember listening to it for the first time and like needing a break. Like I had to go listen to something, happier just because of how intense it was. That ability to affect emotions, that ability to penetrate the soul with your music is always a great sign. And also just sonically, he had a lot of punchy and great records on here. You gotta combine all of the musical aspects. So if you combine the flow and the production, you get this product that is sort of catchy, got a bit of a rhythm to it, but it's also got a lot of personality with the darkness of all this stuff. And I can't, when I say darkness, but I really cannot stress enough like how much more like overtly I feel like maybe growth and development was like kind of like just scary on a surface level, but I don't feel like it was consciously trying to evoke emotions of fear. That just happened to be what it was. This one felt like there was a conscious effort to like evoke emotions of fear and like intensity and dark and gritty gravitas that I really appreciate. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give the musical execution a grade. And overall, I like this record. It's not a perfect record. And, I do think that 22G's pinnacle from an artistic standpoint has definitely yet to come. But I'm definitely really proud of 22G's for coming back and, coming out with a really, really good album. In my opinion, making a generally successful comeback artistically, although I don't know how that's going to translate to the mainstream. But at least from an artistic standpoint, I feel like he made a really successful comeback. And I'm definitely excited to consider this, down the line when I'm looking at the top artists of the decade. So, yeah, shout out to 22G's for this album. With that being said, peace, y'all.